So this is it. This is awful.
Hi guys, it's me, your girl, Charis. Hi, we're gonna talk about today something that makes me anxious. It makes me feel vulnerable. We're gonna talk about my vocal injuries. Yay! I think that for a lot of singers, especially, we want people to believe that we know what we're doing. But having a vocal injury doesn't mean that you don't know what you're doing. There are dancers all the time who get injuries just because they hadn't got an injury that day. Doesn't mean they didn't know how to do a pirouette, or they didn't know how to do dance move here. They just hurt themselves. My injury is based on the fact that I have some weird biological things going on that affected my voice. As I say this to my students all the time, the unfortunate part about being a singer is that you carry your instrument around with you everywhere. It's not like being a guitar player where you can just put in the case and put it in your room and you know it's safe there. You live with it. You take it around with you every single place that you go, and so you have to take care of it constantly. And so I always felt like I was pretty good at taking care of my voice. Vocal health is something that I know a good, considerable amount of. I know more about it now since I've had this vocal injury, and I've been trying to educate as many people as I can about the severity, but also the fact that it's not the end of the line about things. So we're gonna talk about some of that stuff today. Yay! Yay. Okay, so at the beginning of like 2020, I was in a musical and I was having like major voice problems. And I was teaching and I had just gotten off being sick. I made it happen and I did the whole thing, and it was winter. The main things were I was live streaming. I was mostly singing on my live stream. I've since had to change that because I've had so many voice problems. I was in a musical and I was teaching voice. Teaching is one of like the main things that people say is very, very stressful on your voice because you're just like talking. I started having some major problems, and I really realized there was an issue when I was going to like an audition coaching session with a local pianist here, and he was talking to me about a song, and he was like, why are you not like getting these notes, like reaching up and getting these notes? And I'm like, there's nothing there. Like I was like, I keep like trying to sing them and it's just air. Like I can't get up there. And I was like, there is something wrong. And so I was just kind of like, okay, so I went to a doctor. They put a video camera down my nose. Initially, I thought that they were gonna put it in my throat. That's not true. If anybody had done any kind of research, they would have known this was going to your nose. They scoped me, and he was like, yeah, you have like 2 small nodules on your vocal cords. And at the time, everybody kind of made it seem like that was just like a death wish. Like if you got nodules on your vocal cords, like that was the end all be all, you know? I definitely thought that. I was having a really hard time. This is the very beginning of COVID, and I'm just like, okay, what do I do, right? So you're like thinking, okay, well, what am I gonna do, like, if I can't sing anymore? And then I was thinking, well, what am I gonna do if I have to speak a different way? Because I'm very loud. I have a friend who is like always with my microphone. If we're on Discord chats, he's like, Charis, you don't have to be that close to the microphone. But I was just thinking, like, what am I gonna have to do to like change my lifestyle? So I did a few different things. I started tasting some acid reflux medicine. If I find the video, I'll put it in here.
This is the breathing pathway. You can, if you want to take a picture, I'm gonna start playing it. So that's where they, right, you see when they come together, you can see a little bit of irregularity there. That's from just trauma causing it. That just look a little bit different.
Okay, yeah, it's like whiter.
Yeah, but that's normal. It's just a little bit thick mucus that's stuck there.
That's crazy. That's nuts to look at.
Basically what he said was, you have two very, very small nodules on your vocal cords on either side, right? But you have red all around, like the top of it. I forget what the part of the throat is that he was talking about, but it's all inflamed. A very inflamed, very irritated voice box. I was putting a lot of pressure on it because I needed to use it all the time. And while that was okay for before, it wasn't okay once I started having more irritation in that area. So basically what I did was I started doing vocal rest 2 to 3 days out of the week. I had a really convenient work schedule. And like I said, it was COVID. So it was a little bit easier because everybody's working from home. But I was working basically on days that were all squished together, and I could take 3 days significantly off, right? But it's a little difficult when you're a live streamer. So I used to do these things called silent streams where I would like play a game or something and I like couldn't talk. Or I'd have like my mom like call in and be like my voice and talk to people. Or I would just like type. So like you have to be kind of creative when it comes to like having to work and do those things. But you basically had to take the vocal rest. So a nodule is basically a callus on your vocal cords. If you rest it, it gives it time to heal. It's different than having like a vocal polyp or a vocal abrasion, because those are completely different things. I don't know that much about those, but I do know that they're a little bit more serious. Now, it's not to say that if somebody doesn't get diagnosed with nodes, it isn't to say that that isn't like a showstopper for them, because mine were very, very small when I found them. And I'm really lucky that I was doing so much when I found them, because it really exacerbated my symptoms. It made me sound literally like a frog. Like I'll try to like put a video in here to like show you a comparison of the way that I sounded. I just really like ducks, okay. But I sounded like a toad. Or I like to say it sounded like I was like swallowing gravel. It cut singing out completely. In my voice lessons, I basically would just sing along to help my kids find the melody, or if they couldn't find a pitch and help them that way. I basically cut that out of my lessons completely. I made sure to drink a lot of water, and then stayed away from foods that over-exacerbated my acid reflux, which I knew I had, but no one else believed me that I had. If I even went back to my ENT and they were like, do you think the acid reflux medicine is helping? And I'm like, yeah, because I don't wake up in the morning and my throat feels raw. So yeah. And they weren't really particularly helpful, and they were just like, hey, take this nasal spray, it's allergies, and I'm like, okay, cool. They wanted me to go to voice to speech therapy, and I was like, I mean, that's cool, but I feel like that's not really gonna fix the initial problem of like having acid reflux, right? I took a little bit of a break, and I was like, okay, so then I went to the dentist, and my dentist was like, okay, so there are little circles on the backs of your teeth. He was like, do you have acid reflux? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, so basically what's happening is the acid's getting into your mouth and it's eating your teeth. And I was like, great, love that. That's wonderful. Because I like freak out as soon as there's anything wrong with my teeth. Like I'm like, no, because I had a lot of work done when I was a kid on my teeth and I did not enjoy it. The dentist was like, hey, I think I know what's causing your acid reflux. And I was like, okay, what is it? And she's like, I think you have a tongue tie. And I was like, that's interesting, because no one's ever told me I have a tongue tie. I've been to a bunch of dentists. I've had a lot of work done when I was a kid, like I said, and no one's ever been like, hey, you got a tongue tie, okay? So she's like, I think you have a tongue tie. So what I want to do is to cut the bottom of your tongue. This sounds great. I want to cut the bottom of your tongue, and I want to put a spacer in your mouth, and then I want to give you Invisalign to straighten your teeth back out once we space them out. And then I want to give you physical therapy on your tongue so that you swallow the other one. Because apparently what's happening is that I was swallowing backwards. And so I call my mom and I'm like freaking out because I'm like, this is going to cost like $15,000 to do this. And I've never even heard anything like this before. And so I was like, we got to get a second opinion. So I was like, I need to find an ENT and a gastrologist that can work in tandem together. And then I found an ENT and a gastrologist, and I went, and the gastrologist is just like, well, we can't do anything. We have to get inside your intestinal tract. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. And so, but then my ENT was like, hey, that dentist is dumb. You are not tongue-tied. Because this guy is an ENT and a surgeon, so he cuts tongue ties all the time. And so I was like, great, awesome. He's like, don't ever go to that dentist ever again. I'm like, cool. Because when I tell you I was freaking out because lady wanted to cut my tongue, I was freaking out. She wanted to cut my tongue. I did not want to do that. And so then I went to this doctor and got these results. Now, what's interesting is that my acid reflux would not wake me up in the middle of the night. So basically what was happening, and I'll show you the report here, what I hypothesized was that in the middle of the night, the acid from my stomach was just like pooling in my throat and creating all this irritation in my throat. And then because I was using my voice so much, it was causing those nodules. And it turned out to be that I was exactly right. So I have some footage here that I'm putting here from like doing the procedure and doing all that stuff to finally figure out what was wrong with me. I went to the doctor about 3 weeks ago, and I don't have nodules anymore. So I did get rid of them by drinking a lot of water, by going on vocal rest 2 days out of the week. I did that, I want to say, for like 2 months. And then making sure I really took it back as far as being a freaking loud person all the time and not singing constantly. It's amazing what you can do when your voice is used to such heavy use and then you stop doing that. So I will insert some of that footage here so you can see kind of like what was going on. It was a real weird procedure.
We're going to the ENT and they're gonna put a probe in my esophagus.
Through your nose.
Through my nose. I thought they were putting it in my voice box, but you said it's apparently my esophagus.
I'll measure the acidity of your...
That sounds terrible.
Of your stomach juice.
Yummy. Okay, open your mouth. Open big. There we go. Okay. How's that? It's good. All right, perfect. Okay, so this is it. This is awful. I did not know what the procedure was called to Google ahead of time what was going to happen to me. They numbed my nose and then they put this in my face and it was in this big jar, which made me think that the jar was going in my nose, which isn't necessarily true. So then they taped it to my face and it's like clipped to my little receivers clipped here. And then I have like a little thing that I gotta press. And when I have a little journal, this is my journal, and it talks about like what I'm supposed to, like when I'm sleeping or what I'm eating and when and stuff to keep track of it. So it feels real weird. I don't love this. Hey, so I get to take this thing out of my nose today. Sleeping was terrible. It's like weird because every single time I swallow, it's just like, my body's like, did you know there's something there? And then if it's like in the wrong place, and then I can kind of sort of move it if I move the So we'll see if this has any kind of results. Again, so this is testing the pH level in my esophagus. So normally your esophagus is supposed to be at a 7. So I'm gonna get this taken out. It's gonna be awesome. I'm very excited to get taken out. It hasn't been great. I haven't been able to wash my hair because this is not waterproof. When I slept last night, I literally connected it to my head like this. Ow, now it's stuck in my hair.
Fast forward to me actually getting the results. Basically, what's happening is around 4 in the morning, I am having, sorry if I'm really, really loud right now. I'm close to the microphone. Around 4 in the morning, I am just having a bunch of acid in my throat. What your pH level of your throat is supposed to be is a 7. That's what the pH of water is. So your esophagus is supposed to be the pH of 7. Again, if I say anything's incorrect, I am not a doctor. And at around 4 a.m., my pH gets to be about a 5. So that doesn't seem like a whole lot, but when it's your pH level and it's like throat chemistry, it really is. And it does that until I wake up. So it's like that for about 5 to 6 hours. And what's interesting is that I never had heartburn and I never had it wake me up in the middle of the night. And apparently that has a lot to do with how much mucus you have in your body. The answer is that I gotta be on acid reflux medicines for the rest of my life. Like, that's just what it is. There's something up with the acid doesn't want to stay in my stomach. I don't know what it is. Just wants to hang out in my vocal cords. It's great. I can't really identify when it started happening. I know I have had vocal irritation problems for most of my life. I remember when I was in college, my voice teacher kept telling me that she thought that I needed to get my tonsils taken out because my tonsils were really big. But I always was like, I don't think the issue is my tonsils. This is just like an encouragement video, I think, for people who, if you have this thing, especially if you're a singer and somebody tells you that you have nodules, it's just like in the Pitch Perfect movie. You're like, oh my God, it's the end of the world. Like, I literally am not gonna be able to be a singer anymore. And there is a little bit more hope than that, and they can go away. And I know that there are people in my life who were professionals, who like went to school for this stuff, and were like, oh, if you have nodules, I'm so sorry, sweetheart, but that's the end of the road for you, and it wasn't. So I'm here, and they're completely gone, and yeah. So if you guys have any questions about specific things, like drop them in the comments. I'll answer as many as I can. Like I said, I am not a doctor, so I do not know exactly like all the specifics about things. I'm just telling you that if you do have some voice problems, I encourage you to go and see a doctor as soon as you can. I know that healthcare is annoying and not everybody's accessible to those kinds of things, but if your job is your voice, then you need to take care of it. So yeah, that's been my journey. It's been crazy. Lots of uncertainty, woes. It's made me big sad. So if you guys don't already subscribe to the channel, please hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you get a notification every single time I post a new video. You guys have a wonderful morning, noon, or night, wherever it is that you are in the world. You're loved by me, and I will see you later, alligator. After a while, crocodile. I feel like this is in a weird spot. Do we feel like it's in a weird spot? I'm gonna move it.
There's something there that wasn't there before. Do you know that there's something there that you don't normally have there? So like, yay!
Tell them about your breakfast.
No, this is from my YouTube.
Okay,
But that's fine.